Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 134 in the series Viewers Games. It is the turn of Fanny, and if you would like your game to be analyzed on Chess to Impress, you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. Fanny says, "Hi Rick, thanks for your email and I appreciate your contribution in analyzing all viewers games. Most of the games you analyze are very interesting and have a lot of learnings from them," says Fanny. And Fanny is white in this game and his opponent is Magnus Carlsen. Not the real Magnus Carlsen, but the Magnus Carlsen app at 12 years old. And Fanny opens with d4. The app plays knight f6, e3, g6, and here bishop d3 is the main move, but Fanny plays knight c3. d5, knight f3, bishop g7 played by 12-year-old Magnus Carlsen, bishop e2, and both players castled. Knight c6, we have a very symmetrical position, just the position of the king's bishops is different. Bishop b5, queen d6, h3, and bishop f5 developing. And Fanny is going to get the light squared bishops of the board, like this. a6 and a3 were played, and rook f2 e8. Here bishop d2 is the main move from the engine. That bishop is a bit clumsy, does not have a lot of things to do, but on d2 at least the rooks are connected. But instead of bishop d2, Fanny decides to play the queen back to d1. And now the Magnus Carlsen app becomes active, pushes in the center. We see some swaps on e5 and rook e1. Rook a2 e8, and black has the better position, we can say, after 15 moves. All his pieces are harmoniously placed, while white has a clumsy knight and a bad bishop on its initial square. Again, bishop d2 is an option here, but Fanny plays a bad one. He plays knight to a2. That knight was not great on c3, standing in the way of the c-pawn, but on a2 it's even worse. And Magnus Carlsen, 12-year-old app, grabs his chance and brings his knight to e4. With the knight on c3, that knight could have been swapped off. c3, that is Fanny's idea to push that c-pawn, but his last two moves have not been very good. He displaced his knight and buried it in the corner. a5 is now a good move, really taking every square away from the knight, but instead of that the app plays rook f5, threatening to take on f2. So Fanny defends the f-pawn, and now c5, also a good move, also taking that b4 square away from that poor knight in the corner. b3 from Fanny, and that is just dropping the c-pawn. And as we see, the Magnus Carlsen app decides to take it. The c-pawn is attacked by these two pieces and only defended by the knight, so it's going to drop. But black had a much better move here. Instead of taking the pawn, he could have played d4 here, very strong. A difficult move, but I think that the real 12-year-old Magnus Carlsen would have found it. Let's show one variation, just to show how good this move is. If you take on d4, c takes, and then you develop your bishop to b2. Finally, that bishop has a nice diagonal. Then there is knight takes f2, very strong. Because if you take, and take, there is d takes e3, check. And the bishop on b2 will drop. And black will get the piece back. King g1, queen takes d1 check. First swapping the queens and then taking on b2. And black is winning with two extra pawns, a far advanced pass pawn, and his bishop is dominating the knight. Also the pawn on a3 is hanging. So all that after b3 and then d4. Very nice move, followed by that piece sacrifice on f2. But as mentioned, the app went for winning the pawn. Bishop takes c3, knight takes, and knight takes. Black has won a pawn. The queen is attacked, so queen c2, attacking the knight, knight back to e4, and bishop b2. Fanny has lost a pawn, but apart from that, he must feel a lot better about life. He's got rid of his clumsy knight, and also his bishop has come to life. f6, rook a1, b6, a4 and a5 was played. f3, kicking the knight. Knight went to g3, attacking the rook, and also this pawn is attacked. But Fanny can solve both problems in one go with rook f2 e1. Rook h5, that's a strange move. I don't think the real Magnus Carlsen would have considered this move, let alone play it. It's pointless. Queen f2 from Fanny, king g7 and f4. That's disturbing the protection of the knight. That knight is now hanging, but it gives the knight a great square on e4. f3, f4 is not a good move from Fanny. Knight e4 was played. That knight is beautiful there. It's attacking the queen. So queen f3 and h6. Another move from Magnus Carlsen. 12-year-old app. That's hard to understand. Not sure what that move does. You cannot trap the rook after g4. It still has the h4 square available. It's a very bad rook, of course, but you cannot trap it. Fanny played rook d3 instead. He's going to double on the d file, putting pressure on the d5 pawn. Good plan. Rook d8, rook ed1 and queen e6 out of the firing line of the rooks. Fanny must still have fancied his chances here because of the very odd position of that rook on h5. For the moment the d5 pawn is protected well enough. Fanny plays rook e1, and now the Magnus Carlsen app plays a few very unfortunate queen moves. First queen e7, Fanny went back to d1, and then queen f7, which is a blunder. It gives Fanny the chance for a brilliant move that wins him the game. And this is a good moment to put the video on pause and look for the move yourself. White is a great shot here that wins him material. It's not easy, but Fanny found it. The Magnus Carlsen app did not find it. Did not look deep enough because Fanny corked out here. Queen takes e4. What a move, a queen sacrifice. If you take on e4 straight away, that leads to the same thing, but the Magnus Carlsen app played c4 first. That pawn was taken, and then he took the queen. You really have to take the queen, otherwise you just have lost a piece. And what is the point? Well, first there is rook takes d8, and white has now rook and bishop for the queen. But there's no defense against the rook coming to d7, winning the queen because of the skewer. It's black's move, but there's nothing he can do against that. He played g5, rook a to d7, winning the queen, g takes f4, rook takes f7 check, king takes, and e takes f4. The smoke has cleared and Fanny is now just a piece up. Here's an extra bishop. Rook c5, rook c1, protecting the c4 pawn, and the rest is simple technique. Black has no compensation for the piece. Let's just go through the moves. The rooks get swapped, so now it gets even easier, especially after the a5 pawn goes. Fanny rightly activates his king, and the king is going to clean up on the king side, while the a pawn is a deflection. The king cannot go to the king side because then the a pawn will go through. King e5 on the 54th move, and the Magnus Carlsen app resigned. I'm not sure how these apps decide when it's time to resign, but it is time to resign here. Fanny would have won this position against the real Magnus Carlsen as well. Very interesting game. Fanny, you played very well. In the opening and the early middle game you were outplayed by the app. You were struggling finishing your development, but once black had missed a chance with that d5, d4 move, a difficult move, especially because it involved a temporary piece sacrifice, you came back into the game, and then the app made those very strange queen moves, and then you had that beautiful shot, queen takes e4, and I'm sure that's the reason you decided to send in this game. It was indeed a wonderful queen sacrifice, and it was winning, and you finished the game off very nicely. Thank you very much, Fanny, for sending in this game. I hope you enjoyed Fanny's adventure in this game. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.